lifting the lid on mental health over a beer with author and psychiatrist Paul Keedwell and business consultant and so-called comedian Ollie Turnbull.
Hello and welcome to the second of our COVID-19 specials, Why the Long Isolation, with me, Oliver Turnbull, and Dr.
Paul Keedwell. Hello.
How are you today, my friend?
I'm okay. I've been for a run. I've done some constructive things.
Good.
And I've also noodled around on social media.
Nice.
I'm slightly in a mix of kind of self-satisfied and a bit anxious.
Yeah, because it's worth recalling. It's Tuesday, the 31st of March, the last day of the financial year. And we've had a bad day in the UK in that yesterday there was a report of 393 people dying as a result of COVID-19, which is the worst day so far. Only time will tell from our perspective whether that turns out to be one of the worst or whether it's still going to get any worse.
Yeah, it's a big jump up from the previous day's figure, which was 180. It tends to get reported around mid-afternoon. I don't know why. So it is a big leap up. It's not unprecedented. We've seen it in other countries in Europe, but we were kind of predicting this.
We're feverishly looking at the data. Both me and the doctor do love an Excel spreadsheet. We're slightly competitive about our skills and speed with it, but we're both coming up to the same conclusions. But I think both of us, if we're not careful, can try and look at graphs that make it look better for the UK. The ones that I think are reliable are from a point in time, such as the first 100 deaths, how have we climbed relative to when other countries met that point. And if you do look at it that way, we don't look that bad, actually, this leap in the last 24 hours notwithstanding.
No, and people will be listening to this from all over the world, and some people will be thinking, oh, you've got it coming, UK.
Yeah, maybe.
In
the last 30 days, we've got more listeners in the US than anywhere else in the world. So y'all take care of yourselves.
Yeah, I guess people in the US are going to be quite worried at the moment. The figures are climbing over there, aren't they? Big country, though, so you can't make direct comparisons.
It's going to be interesting. I'm going to, as I said, listening back to this recording months from now, do we sound wise or do we sound horribly naive or do we sound terribly pessimistic? It's interesting.
Yeah. We may find that it's clear that most European countries are going to, or Western countries are going to form the same curve. I think we might have to accept that there's going to be a certain percentage of loved ones we're going to lose. Mostly in the elderly.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
This is a nasty disease. And that actually what may happen is all countries eventually catch up with the right number of ICU beds and ventilators, but there'll still be the same proportion who die.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping that we'll realise that the death rate is actually quite small once we have enough tests done. And the big battle at the moment, isn't it, is to get enough testing done. So we've got reliable statistics.
Yeah, that's right. But you wonder, don't you? Even at this relatively early stage, still, is that there have been so many people who won't have been tested who've had it that's going to skew the figures in the end as well. I don't know how you're going to compensate for that statistically. But on a lighter note, you did say, "Do I fancy a drink?" Because normally regular listeners will know we enjoy a little tipple normally when we're just one, maybe two if we're feeling particularly happy with the way that the podcast is going. And I don't know, I don't really feel like a drink at the moment. I haven't been drinking that much, which is obviously quite a good thing. I don't know about you. I think
I haven't actually.
No, I used to come home after a long day at work and really felt I'd earned one, and I'm not sure I feel that. It's not as I don't
interesting.
Feel like yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're less stressed working from home. Maybe this is an advert for working from home. But do you think you're working as hard as you would do if you went to the office?
Yeah, great question. This is where we're very different because you see patients, whereas I have to be sort of self-policing and try and keep my motivation up, which can be difficult, particularly when I'm doing some deep technical report unsupervised. Because I'm here with my kids, who are one of which is working and one of which is messing around and sometimes working, and my wife, who is certainly working. It's like being in an office, really. We have kind of a different relationship, really, during the day, as if we're sort of office friends, and I work in a very friendly office. So I think I'm probably working about as hard, but I think probably about the same.
So well, that begs the question then, why do you think you haven't earned the drink? Maybe it's more to do with the commute. Maybe it's the commute that's the slog. And that's why you feel you need the drink when you get back.
Or maybe there's something psychological which says you've gone out, you've physically left your home to bring home the bacon. Makes me think, right, I've done it. I've survived another day. Also, of course, a commute on a motorcycle is absolutely exhausting.
Right. So doing this dry and doing it remotely is a bit different, but I have to say it's better than not doing it.
Yeah.
I've tried to put together how we can help ourselves during this difficult time. My toolkit for surviving the lockdown. 6 elements.
I think these are going to be helpful. I wish we could arrange them in some sort of mnemonic, which was kind of a rude word or something.
So the first one is be mindful.
Oh, yeah.
Be mindful. So this is a skill that you need to train at. But it's about being aware of how you're feeling and where your thoughts are going. Where are your thoughts wandering during this isolation? We can say that a lot of the time people are obsessing about their health and safety at the moment and obsessing about death, which is the ultimate kind of fear and typical of the tendency for we human beings to exaggerate the risks before us, catastrophizing in your prediction of future events, thinking that you're at greater risk than you are.
Yeah. The thing about mindfulness that I learned is be in the present and listen to what your senses are telling you, particularly the ears, funnily enough. So when I was doing this philosophy course in Eastern meditation and Eastern philosophy, she made us sit and listen to what was going on in the room around us and beyond the room, and then beyond that to the slightest little sound that we could hear. And that helped us very much get in the moment.
I've done that too. Yeah.
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 Sort of byproduct of it was that you started concentrating quite hard on something other than the noise that was going on in your brain. And the idea was that you calm that constant noise that's going on in your brain. You know, it's happening to me now. I'm going to stumble over my words. Have we prepared enough? Blah, blah, blah. And it helps you do that. And the other thing that she said, which I thought was crucial, and I think it's the same in sort of the kind of mindfulness that we do in the West, is if your mind wanders, and it 100% will, particularly when you're doing this exercise for the first time, if your mind wanders, just let it. Be aware that it's wandering. Recognize the thought, but don't give it any particular meaning. Just recognize you're having a thought, have that thought, and then try gently to move yourself back to A, concentrating on your breathing, and B, concentrating on what your senses are telling you. It's quite cool, but it's not massively easy.
And the more you practice it, the better you get at it. But I was trying to think in the broader sense about being mindful of what you're thinking, how that is impacting on how you feel, and also how it's impacting on perhaps how other people feel around you. So how are you presenting yourself to other people in your household? Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
Definitely you need to be doing a lot of the mindfulness meditation that we talked about last time, but you need to be educating yourself as well about where your mind has a tendency to go at the moment. When you start getting that headache or it feels like I've got a bit of a sore throat, maybe I'm getting the virus and maybe I've spread it to other people, oh my God, and then loads of guilty ruminations come in, or people are getting what we call psychosomatic symptoms. So perhaps over-interpreting physical feelings and thinking that they are an early sign of the disease. I don't know about you. I've occasionally thought, I had a bit of a twinge in my throat. I mean, lots of things can cause a temporary sore throat, you know.
Yeah. It's perfectly natural because we're in, like we said before, all of us, almost all of humanity is in this heightened state of worry. And we're animals at the end of the day. And when you're in a heightened state of worry, you look for any sign that gives you an indication that you're in peril.
I guess it's just being mindful of that, being aware of that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what I've been studying a lot recently is the primitive brain. And of course, the primitive brain acts quicker than your rational brain. Why? Because if there's a bloody tiger just about to bite you, you don't have time to think logically about the probabilities. You just get the fuck out of there, right? And so that explains quite a lot of why our anxieties that well up within us don't seem to have any logic, because sometimes they can bypass the logical part of our brain.
Yeah, so we should say something about the physical symptoms of anxiety so that if you are experiencing them, you can perhaps be mindful of the fact that they are not necessarily symptoms of serious physical illness, but just symptoms of anxiety, right?
Bingo.
A dry or scratchy throat could easily be due to you over-breathing or hyperventilating. Anyone listening to this now can do a little experiment. If they force themselves to overbreathe for just 15 seconds, they'll start to feel hot and sweaty. It is a consequence of overbreathing, which we tend to do when we're anxious. What other symptoms do we get? Well, we can get palpitations, fast heartbeat. We can actually get pains in the chest due to the fact that the chest wall muscles are constricting. You can be constipated. You can be the opposite. You can have the urge to pee. You can feel a bit nauseous. These are all anxiety symptoms, mostly due to an overdrive of the sympathetic autonomic nervous system, which is all connected to that system in your brain that's to do with fight or flight.
It probably bears saying that none of this is particularly physically dangerous. These are natural bodily reactions to a brain that thinks it's in peril. Please remember this.
Yeah.
You're not going crazy. You're not having a heart attack. You're not having a brain tumor. You're, and this all goes through all the way through to anxiety attacks, panic attacks, which are the worst manifestation of this. And the things to remember there are, it's not going to kill you. It's a perfectly normal reaction. Your body's actually acting in the correct way, and it will pass. The chemicals within your body will dissipate, and you will feel better. And you've got to remember these things.
And the great thing is, once you become mindful about this yourself, you can be mindful about the other people in your household who may be going through anxiety and overinterpreting symptoms like that.
Blimey, we've only done one of your 6-point plan.
You know, no, but I tell you what, though, mindful just covers a whole multitude of things, doesn't it? But it's being aware of the link between thoughts and the physical reaction. So it's those negative thoughts that start the chain. Through your meditation techniques, you've become aware of the negative thoughts that keep popping into your head. Thoughts that most of the time you're not even aware of, but they're there in the back of your mind, building up the level of anxiety incrementally.
That's right. These things bubble up, and before you know it, they're there in your sort of conscious mind, and you're in a state of anxiety. And then you have this thing where you're anxious about being anxious. I think be positive. One thing I would say, I don't hold much store in just saying positive things over and over and over and over again and saying it's going to be a wonderful day, I'm a wonderful guy, I'm a fighter, and I'm going to survive. I always like there to be a little bit of a logic behind it. So the positivity is based on fact.
Yeah. What you summarised there is the heart of cognitive behavioural therapy. You're identifying the errors of logic that led to your thought, and you're correcting that error of logic with something that's more rational.
Yeah.
But the key thing is that you're doing it. You're the person who's conceiving of the more realistic and nearly always more positive spin, because your brain is a bit like all those negative headlines you read in the newspapers. If you're focusing death rates due to this serious disease, you can flip it around to survival rates. You can think about it in that way. So we think the death rate might be as high as 1%, say, or even 2%. So what's your chances of survival? Between 98 and 99%. That sounds like pretty good odds to me.
Even higher when you're younger than 70. I think that's great. It's what we call reframing in my game. Look at it from a different angle. Try and let the facts tell us something different.
And thinking about what you're doing to protect yourself. So I'm doing this, that, and the other to minimize my risk even further. The other thing to say is think forward to the future when the risk is much reduced, taking heart from the Asian countries where they are literally ahead of the curve compared to us, and coming out the other side of it and starting to relax some of their social distancing measures.
Oh, yeah. When we get through this and we're all going back to work and we're in coffee shops and we're all having proper face-to-face meetings and meeting each other again, normality is going to seem so sweet.
Yeah. Think of the parties we're going to have.
Yeah,
it'll be fantastic. Yeah, so isolation will eventually come to an end. And how about trusting in in the scientific community to come up with some solutions for this that are very encouraging? You know, we're hearing encouraging news all the time. Perhaps focusing on that would be helpful. But, you know, in the here and now, what can we take that's positive from the current situation? It's good to sort of write down a list of these And I was reading about gratitude training the other day, which I can just feel you bristling,
Yeah.
Oliver. But
my eyes just went, oh, for fuck's sake.
What have I got to be grateful for today? And actually, there's quite a lot of things that you should be grateful for, I guess. You got a nice home, right?
Oh, no, I am. Yeah, absolutely. But gratitude training.
I suppose it's just getting up every morning and first thing you do, rather than look at your smartphone, is to think about what you've got to be grateful for.
Yeah. There's another similar thing, which is linked to mindfulness, which is really taking notice of things. Things. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got it. And you look at grass and you look at the way that...
Oh, stuff, you mean?
Stuff. Yes, sorry, stuff. I should have said stuff. Yeah, you're right, stuff. And you notice the closer you come, you can see the individual blades of grass, and then one blade of grass has a drop of water on it, and the drop of water has a reflection on it. And it sounds really, really hippie, but if you're talking about gratitude training, Jesus Christ.
I was going to say, you're actually running away with this hippie thing right now.
Can do. Yeah.
Focus in.
The curse of the human is that we can look in the past and regret things, and we can look into the future and fear things.
All the great philosophers say is just be in the present and appreciate the present, don't they?
Yeah. But then again, Socrates lived in a barrel.
Yeah, and some of those Greek philosophers ended up killing themselves, so I'm not sure they had...
Well, Socrates,
yeah. It was Socrates, was it? Was it the guy did he poison himself?
Yeah, I think he took hemlock, didn't he, Socrates?
Hemlock.
Yeah, something like that.
I think he said melancholia was an inevitable consequence of man's preoccupation with higher problems. That's why I think that was a justification for his own misery. Got himself into right pickle.
Right pickle.
I think it was him versus the state at one point, I think, and he lost. Anyway.
Moral victory.
So, positives from this situation, Oliver? Apart from being occasionally aggravated, are you enjoying spending more time with your kids?
I'm very much enjoying having them around, yeah. And my older child, who's 21, is proving to be quite the gourmet. And we're watching this great thing on Netflix at the moment called Tiger King, which is the best documentary I've ever seen in my life.
You're joking? I've seen that, and I thought that looks ridiculous. Why would I ever bother watching that? It's about two competing safari parks or something. Oh no, it's about one guy who's got the biggest tiger safari in the US, and there's a woman who's the biggest tiger conservationist or something, and they're locking swords. Is that right?
Very much like, say,
the premise?
Romeo and Juliet is about
the Montagues and the Capulets going at it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's one big scrap.
It is like that, actually. You've nailed it.
I'll give that a watch, definitely.
We have got to get on with some of your... We're only on point 2 of your 6-point plan, Doctor.
Yeah, but in there, they're being positive is humour, right? Use of humour. It's one of the most important things to get us through.
Oh, that reminds me. Something I have to say then, if we're going talking about humour. So what we're doing at work is we have this teleconference 3 times a week, and we all get together, and it was really stilted at first because I didn't really know what to do. And then we came up with some games that we could do, and we started telling jokes with each other, and then we started showing each other around each other's houses, and then we had this thing called Show Me Your Spouse, and then it was Exhibit a Child, and it actually replaces quite nicely some of the nice sort of water cooler socials that we used to have, and it's become quite popular. We do this through the Keyhole thing, where people submit a video or some photos of their house, and we have to work out whose it is from their
personality.
That's it, exactly, yeah. And it is actually working really well.
So they correctly guessed that you owned a 9,000 square foot Georgian pile from your pomposity, presumably. Your huge ego. Right?
Well, this looks like it must be, it's on 5 levels. Is it Oliver's house? Because he's a pompous prick.
He's a pompous prick, and his ego is bigger than his wallet, so presumably he can't afford to heat it.
No.
And you were like, correct. Only heat the first 2 floors.
Yeah, well done.
So thinking again as well to downside, the other end of this curve, okay? Wouldn't it be great at that point to be able to say, when you meet up at the party at my house, while you're dancing on my table, spilling beer all over the place, slopping it on the curtains and stuff, just basically while you're doing that, you say, I learned a language.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
I can now play the guitar. or I can play it better than I did before.
That wouldn't be hard, but
I can play Stairway.
Yeah,
you might say.
Oh.
Or you have recorded a complete YouTube blog series where you've discussed how to survive the corona epidemic. I don't know, but or you've finished a podcast. But yeah, so what I'm getting at there is at least put some of this time during this crisis for, say, an evening class. How about if you get people giving you tutorials remotely, right? And you do a certain amount of self-learning as well in between. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Oh, and there's all sorts of things, right? So I was a bit glum at the weekend. I was very tired for no particular reason. And then, of course, me being me, got anxious about being tired because I thought, well, I'm tired now. I'm not even doing anything. Oh my God, why am I tired? So,
oh God, we all get that.
Well, I suppose.
How am I going to be able to perform because I'm tired?
Well,
we all get that.
And Louise says, right, you're going to tidy up your office. And I was like, that's absolutely not going to happen. But I went down in my office, which is a bit of a shithole, and started tidying up things and throwing out things that I don't need. And as I kept on doing that, it started to feel better and better and better. And it's one of the things that I'd put off and put off and put off. And now I actually occasionally walk into my lovely new tidied office, and I get so much pleasure out of it. And I've got a job done, and I feel great.
Absolutely. My missus did exactly the same thing to me. Just do it. You'll feel better. I promise you will. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I've got all this stuff to do. I want to write. I would have got to do a bit of writing for my book, and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And she said, just do this. And I actually ended up spending the whole rest of the day cleaning. And I don't love cleaning, but I love the result of it because now I've got a lovely home that I can enjoy using much more. And she said, look, this is going to be your domain for the next, I don't know how many weeks. So make it a pleasurable place to be in. And she was dead right.
Yeah, no, very wise, both of them. I did some cleaning, and I don't do much cleaning. I don't enjoy cleaning, but it is quite, I know it's a bit of a cliched word, cathartic, but I'd finished it. And there's something about doing something physical and doing something analog when I live pretty much in the digital world. And you've got a sparkling bath, a sparkling loo, sparkling shower, lovely mirror, and under the floors. And do you know the Vileda Super Mop? The Vileda Super Mop is a fantastic invention. It's really, really good and efficient.
You're showing yourself up now as if you've never, ever seen a mop before.
Very rarely mopped in my life.
But did you get that medal?
Sorry?
There's been no sign of a medal yet, has there? No sign of a medal for you?
No medal. Very
disappointing.
From the Daily Mash, wasn't it? Man does something and expects fucking medal for it. It's so
That's
true.
right. Man does some cleaning. Where's my certificate?
I came back to Louise and said, look, I did it. And she's like, what? You know, what do you expect? What is it that you think you've earned? I was like, no. Well, okay, fine. Well, come and look at it anyway. Come and look at it. I'm not going to look at your shower. This is what normal people do, you idiot.
Yeah.
And she's gone.
Yeah. And dare I say it, there are those things that you need to fix around the house that you probably haven't done yet, but you probably should do, and you feel a lot better for doing them. The things you put off the last 5 years.
Yeah, the front door lock. Fixing a lock is one of those things that she'd say to me, there's no way I'm going to mess around with a lock. You're doing it. And I worked it out. Locks are quite cool. If you undo a lock on a door, it's just like, oh, it's quite simple, really. So it felt quite good, quite manly. Fixing a lock, putting some metal in wood to protect my family from no one because we lived in a closed community.
Okay, so we've talked about constructive things, which is all very good for our feelings of self-efficacy, our potency, our ability to get stuff done. But yeah, be creative. Be creative. That's the other C.
Well, I tell you what, it's no joke that doing this, and we're on our second one, and we're going to do a few more before this is all over. Help me massively. It's a
creative endeavor.
But it's a creative endeavor. Yeah. Well said.
It's a creative endeavor with a sense of accomplishment at the end of it, even if it's heavily edited for the choice bits. It still gives you a sense of accomplishment, doesn't it? It's great.
Even Shakespeare it's edited. Don't you worry about it.
We need this when we're in a low ebb. You know, this is an unprecedented situation, to use the cliche of times, and you know we need to do things that give us joy, that are fun. But I think being creative is very important to our sense of self and self-esteem. Right?
I completely agree.
It counteracts boredom. It's rewarding, makes you feel less helpless in a helpless situation, I think. And even if it's just going out and doing some gardening, that's a fantastically creative thing to do. You've mentioned cooking. I think that also, if you can hone your cooking skills, cooking and gardening are things you get very quick results from. Yeah, so mixing those quick and clean creative endeavours with writing or composing a tune, or which might take a bit longer and have a more of a slow burn kind of effect.
Well, I've got two examples of friends, local friends. So next door, Helen, next door, she's bought a potter's wheel.
My dad had one.
A potter's wheel?
Yeah. I used to throw pots when I was a kid, yeah. And my mum used to do slab work. And we had a kiln. And my mum's specialisation was knowing about the glazes and the oxides.
Wow.
So you do 2 firings. You do a biscuit firing, and then you put the glaze on, and then you fire it again for the glaze.
Okay, well, there'll be some more editing for you there.
Yes, I think most of that will go.
And then another friend of mine is a keyboard player, but he just plays a few chords and fiddly bits, and he mixes. And then his daughter has got a lovely voice, and every now and again, this video pops up on my Facebook feed, and it's Keith with his daughter, and she's sort of got a sort of ethereal voice, and he's just making a lovely noise, and he's spending time with his little girl. It's really, really nice. There are so many ways to be creative, isn't it?
Yeah, good. So we've done that one. We absolutely nailed that one. You've nailed it. So there's only 2 left, and they're quick ones. Be active.
Yeah.
Be active. Right. We've covered this before. When you're on a low ebb, if you're anxious and low, exercise absolutely guaranteed to make you feel better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even I think that, and I hate exercise.
Exercise reduces anxiety and stress, and also boosts brain chemicals that elevate your mood. So it's a double whammy. It's a no-brainer. It's very difficult to motivate yourself to start with, but there are technologies you can use now, right, remotely to help you. You were mentioning that Peloton app, right? The Peloton app. We won't go into detail because we did it in a previous app, but you can join other people exercising and get feedback from them in real time, right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I didn't believe it the first time, but my wife is on it every single day. My son every other day.
Wow.
I do it maybe once a week, and I should do it more. But yeah, you can have a nice scenic ride. There's a big screen in front. There's people high-fiving you. And if you're the competitive type, you can see for your age group where you are in the top 500. It is pretty cool.
Which is great.
And also, whilst I'm on that, you don't actually need to ride the Peloton because they have yoga classes, they have meditation classes, they have running classes and aerobics as well.
Yeah, because not everyone's going to be able to invest in the bike. So it's good that you've got these other options as well. I mean, I've turned my summer house thing at the bottom of my garden into a little bit of a gym, and I'm downloading some apps that are completely free, or there's some way you can just pay per kind of exercise session stuff, and they will, the Nike one, you download one kind of activity at a time, and you can tailor it to your own needs, but they specifically have got a whole series of exercises that are designed for you to do in your own home, and you don't necessarily need any kit. So I think that's the way forward. Good.
Love it.
The other thing is, of course, if you are exercising regularly, that also makes you more resilient to stress. So not only is it a stress buster, it makes you more resilient going forward if you do it regularly.
Yeah.
Immunization against COVID-related anxiety. So, and then finally, what's my last one?
Connected. I like the stereo MCs.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s. You've got to make sure you're connected.
Make sure you're connected.
That's it.
Yeah. We are not happy bunnies if we don't get to communicate. And even if you don't have broadband connection, you can't get the video link, which is preferred. But if you can't, then just picking up dog and bone is nearly as good, I reckon.
Yeah, I have lovely conversations with my dad. Do you know what I find? Even when I think, I really should talk to my dad, and it's almost a chore, as soon as I get 5 minutes in talking to the old bugger, it's like he's a mate. And it makes both of us feel better. I'm being a good son. Yeah. I'm actually enjoying the conversation because he's sharp as a tack. And I think he is as well.
Yeah. Wonderful. Sharp as a tack at 90 years old?
92 this year.
92 this year. Amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Yeah, good skills from OJ.
And on that very positive note, can you? I think we pretty much covered all the bases, and I reckon though over the next few weeks we're going to be learning more and more about people's successful attempts to get through this.
I agree. And using the software we're using, I've just realised we can invite other people. So we were always going to do guests in season 3.
I would love us to connect with Mark over in France and see how he's doing with the lockdown with his young child who's running riot around the house. That'll be entertaining, I think, and getting his words of wisdom as well, because he's a man who's trained in the arts of managing anxiety.
Yeah, he is, and he's just a great guy. Very, very, very funny as well. So he's like gold dust.
So we'll leave it there, and please do get in touch with us. Give us your stories. We'd love to have stuff to talk about the creative ways in which you've found to pass the time, make yourself feel better, beat the stress, and so on. Right?
Hells to the yes. We love your stories. Let's just say go to the website, which is ytlf.com, or Facebook, or email hi@ytlf.com.
Or tweet us, YTLF. That's our handle. And we're going to start tweeting more, man, because we're rubbish at that. Anyway, we'll see you next time. I'm not sure when that'll be. Probably in a few days.
Yeah, a couple of days, 3 days at maximum. Look after yourselves, my lovely friends. Keep well.
Bye for now.